pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm sorry that we're here today. I would much rather be out playing, as I'm sure all of you would, but that's not exactly what we have. The first item of business is a discussion with Commissioner Beardmore, who is from DRA, on county finances. And I had some earlier discussions with him, as did a couple of other people, that what our concern was is that we were just sort of unknown, if that's the right term, about what was actually going on here at the county. And so I did ask Commissioner Beardmore if he would come up today, and I think maybe we have a way forward, and he will be discussing that with us. So if I could, I'd like to turn this over to you and introduce your...
I will. Thank you, Madam Chairman. For the record, my name is John Beardmore, and I am Commissioner of the State Department of Revenue Administration, and I have been such for about 2 years now. The Department of Revenue Administration has several very important responsibilities. One of those important responsibilities that most people understand very well is collecting about 80% of the taxes the state of New Hampshire collects. Business taxes, real estate taxes, meals and rentals taxes, and the like. We collect about $1.5 billion of tax revenue a year. We have about 130 some odd employees doing that. That's a very important job, and 3 of our 4 operational divisions basically execute that function. We have a 4th division, our municipal and property division, and I will introduce Steve Hamilton, the gentleman in the tie in the corner. He's the director of that division, and next to him is Kate DeVasto. Kate is the supervisor in that division. That division, and my responsibility as it pertains to that division, is to have general tax collecting oversight over the property taxes that are collected in our state, about $3.5 billion in annual tax revenue among several hundred taxing jurisdictions. And we do that, we perform that function in a couple ways. We make sure that the assessments that are used locally to apportion the property tax among property owners are fair and equitable, and we do that by coming out to the communities and reviewing the work that your staff assessors and your contract assessors do. We equalize your property value to apportion county and statewide property taxes, and we also set tax rates. So that's just some background about what we do as a department. As I said, in the couple of years that I've been commissioner, unfortunately I've heard early and often about some discord, if that's the right word, in Carroll County around county finances. I've heard verbally from several elected officials and local residents. That's not unique, though. In a $3.5 billion taxing structure with hundreds of local officials who don't always agree with each other, we hear a lot at the Department of Revenue about folks not getting along well, or questioning others' actions or motives or otherwise. And infrequently do we involve ourselves in those unless we are presented with some hard evidence that shows taxes are not being administered properly in local government. Of course, if something was criminal, we would pass it along to the Attorney General's office. But suffice to say, of all the chatter I hear in local government, I've heard a fair amount coming out of Carroll County. None of which, for the most part, rose to the level of great concern, to be honest. Nothing concrete. A couple times I asked folks, if you believe something is not being done appropriately, put it in writing, give me some documents, and we'll follow up as appropriate. Didn't see much in that regard. But what really put the county on my radar was last fall. We had a difficult time apportioning the county tax for all of the communities in Carroll County, the political subdivisions, the cities and towns. And we cannot set a single tax rate for a town in the county until we have the county's tax commitment apportioned or spread out among the member communities. And we do that by relative property value, but we have to have a tax commitment to spread out. And that stems from the county's budgeted and voted appropriations, but it also takes into account how their financial position from the prior year, actual expenses flow into the current year for which we are setting taxes. And we got to a precarious position this past fall, and I remember having a phone conversation with at least one of the county commissioners to say, you know, we're pretty close as a department from having to cut bait with the county and really set a tax rate using our own data for the county. And the law gives me very broad authority to set tax rates. We like to do it using local data. And we like to do everything, or only, I should say, the final calculation, and have all of the spending and revenue data and the subjective judgments that are wrapped up in that, all local decisions. And we do the math at the end. But in the absence of solid local data, we can set a tax rate by making our own estimates of expenses and revenues. We can do that. We'd prefer not to. Not the way to go in a state which values local control so much, and not a place where we want to be as a department. But we got pretty close in Carroll County last fall. And I was just at a municipal managers meeting about a month ago where some of the town officials reminded me just how unpleasant it was to have to wait so long to have a tax rate set. They know, they remember, and they don't want to do that again this year. So we had a tough go of it this past fall, but we made it, and we set tax rates, and I don't think anything truly adverse resulted from that delay. But moving through the winter, I've heard from several legislators, including the chair, indicating that there's an increasing level of uncertainty around the position of county finances, perhaps some lack of trust, and so forth. It had been suggested along the way by a couple individuals, perhaps it's time for the Department of Revenue to perform an audit, a stem-to-stern audit of the county finances, or to order a private entity to do the same. We believe that's something where we could do under the law, but we would rather not. Our resources, like all government resources, are pretty thin, and if we ordered a private firm to do that, it would be at the county's expense, and it would not be an inexpensive undertaking. What really, I think, brings me here today is the department, I believe, has its own business need to take a closer look at the current state of affairs, financially speaking, in Carroll County. That being a pretty significant variance from the ending balance of the end of tax year 2013 and the beginning balance as beginning of calendar and tax year 14, as was recently reported to the department. The county is now reporting what was a comfortable surplus is now a concerning deficit. And deficit may in fact be a deficit, but it's concerning to say the least when that type of swing happens from one day in a calendar year to the next. So that's really what caught our level of attention and said, we think we need to spend some time understanding where in fact Carroll County is before we set another tax rate this fall. And we may already know where we are, and we may we may be in a $1 million deficit position on unassigned fund balance, but we've got the time, and both in terms of runway in front of us before we have to set another tax rate, and we've got the staff resources available to us to spend some time investigating the current state of affairs in Carroll County. So what I have proposed, and I've privately discussed it with members of the executive committee of the delegation, and I've spoken to each of the county commissioners. I understand Mr. Miller's enjoying a vacation right now, couldn't be with us, but I've spoken with him as well. What I'm proposing is at this time to develop, in public session and hopefully with broad agreement, that the department's staff will spend some time this summer at our expense reviewing the documents that we have available to us, interviewing and speaking with members of the delegation, county commissioners, and county professional staff, and the county's auditors to accumulate the list of concerns and facts and the like, and dig a little bit deeper into what is the current unassigned fund balance in the county, and what could the county do going forward to make sure that there's a higher level of confidence in the data that's reported out of the County Finance Office to the Department of Revenue Administration annually going forward. And I would propose doing that by assigning or asking Kate, who's here with us today, to join together with another woman who works with me, who's a 30-year veteran of our department and is in fact our internal auditor. She audits our operations as we go. The two of them spend some time doing the work I just described, to include spending some time here in Carroll County and meeting with folks in your facility this summer, accumulating that information, digging deeper, and producing at the end of the day a written document that would be something that we would probably present at a meeting like this and have a discussion, but a written document for everybody to see that includes our conclusions and our recommendations for going forward. I think that's something that we could accomplish in the next couple months, have it wrapped up by Labor Day, the latest, and in time to go into the tax rate setting season, hopefully with a renewed sense of confidence. In the worst case scenario, we bump into something that is more concerning than we ever anticipated, and perhaps we'd have to move in a different direction, and if we did, I'd come back to a meeting like this and we'd talk about it. But I would proceed hoping for the best and expecting the best, and hopefully ending up at a meeting like this sometime in August, September the latest, talking about what we found as a department and sharing it with the delegation and the commissioners, and doing this in a very public and transparent manner, and in a manner that doesn't prematurely draw conclusions, take sides, cast judgment, or anything like that. And we would probably begin this process by drawing up somewhat of a scope statement, a written document that encapsulates what I've just said and probably describes how we're going to accomplish this. I'd sign it and ask the chair of the commission and the delegation to sign it, just as a way to demonstrate that we're all on the same page, we all understand what we're doing here. In previous conversations, it's been asked, how often do you as a department do something like this? The answer is not very, and not in the tenure that Steve or I or Kate have with the department. But we're very confident that we can do some work that will bring some value to the county and will give us, selfishly, the confidence we need to set the appropriate tax rate for the county portion of the tax for the communities in this county. So I've probably wasted too much of your time on this beautiful afternoon, but that's where we're at. So happy to have that discussion.
Does anyone have any comments, questions? Fox? Representative Cordova?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for being here as well as your staff. Maybe I'm jumping the drafting of the scope of work, but my sort of sense is that you would be looking at how the county at a departmental level might gather information, feed that into the financial system, where some of the numbers that you've been given through MS 42s and 45s, how is that arrived at? That type of analysis?
That might be the case. I'm not sure how deep into departmental operations we will go. I think, what we see will dictate that, but we want to understand how we got through 12 and 13 to get to this beginning balance of 14 that's so different. And we will likely comment on how communication and reporting has been performed internally. I don't want to do a full-blown audit of internal controls and communications, but I want to go deep enough to identify where things may have not been done appropriately, where things could be improved, so that at the end of the day, going forward, we can hopefully not have to do this again, and just have a new normal going forward where there's an understanding of how business is done, and with a fresh starting point of this is the balance. Everybody can have confidence in that balance. How we're going to set a tax rate around a balance like that, well, that's your decision. But we want to get to a place where everybody understands where we are and how we can go forward in a more, in a fashion to avoid where we are right now. Steve, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's we're probably not gonna get as deep as departmental operations, but certainly to make sure that we do have full confidence in the appropriate reporting of financial documents to the department.
I've heard a lot about nursing home accounts. We're not doing an audit of your nursing home, but we will be looking at the accounting of the nursing home revenues and expenditures in the context of the local governmental financial reporting laws. And try to develop an understanding of whether things have been done appropriately, and whether perhaps there's changes in that regard or not.
Representative McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner, and your staff for being here once again. I just would like to go over a couple points. Over your tenure and your staff's tenure, my understanding is that you've never had to go to this level of investigation with another county other than ours at this point in time. I think that's pretty evident. And under any other county over that 10-year, the commissioners are monitoring income revenues, have what would appear to be a good handle on that, and then in a timely manner are able to set a tax rate that's amicable in all reasons and so forth. If I listen and I understand that we're state officials and sometimes we will try and take a more moderate approach, what I'm hearing is that the affairs of our county are suspect to a point enough that we're devoting state energies to come in here and look at our affairs over the course of the next few months. And if what I keep hearing out of my head is that you will be setting the rate, you're going to be at a confidence point, not quickly to say to the county where we are, but after your investigation, DRA will be setting the rate. Is that what I'm hearing?
A few comments. I am not making any conclusions about the affairs of other counties.
Okay.
I think all levels of government have their challenges. Certainly, I'm as a department administrator in the weeds of administering state government, and it's a challenge. We do our best to muddle through. You are correct that I think we're at a point in Carroll County where the state needs to devote some resources into reviewing, is the word I would prefer, taking a closer look at how the numbers we have recently received were developed and developing a higher level of confidence that those are in fact the appropriate numbers. Because when an ending balance and a beginning balance that are one day apart swing by millions of dollars, you know, that, for lack of a better term, raises some concerns. We will be setting a tax rate this year. We will be setting a tax rate for every community in this county in one way or the other, as we always do. State law provides that the department, actually state law provides that the commissioner, although I delegate that authority to Steve and his staff, sets the tax rates. There is the belief among many in local government that that's not the appropriate level of authority, that perhaps the community should set their own tax rates. I happen to believe that there's great value in having the department set the tax rate because we are disinterested really in what the number is. High rate, low rate, for political purposes, we have no interest in manipulating that rate one bit. We want it to be the right rate. We want it to be a supportable rate, and our track record in doing so is, I think, impeccable. We make a couple mistakes year after year, but none that are catastrophic, and we're in the 99% mark for setting the right rate based on the data provided to us by the cities, towns, counties, school districts, village districts. We set them all. So that's where we're going to end up. But I'd like to set a rate for all the communities in Carroll County this fall with data that is provided by the county and that the delegation and the commissioners and the DRA all have confidence in.
Thank you. And just to follow up, you had mentioned that as you're moving through this process, you'll be sharing the results with the commissioners, and I thought you said with the chairman of the delegation, and I'm hoping it will be that way because we have a very robust group of people working on subcommittee level, and it would be very helpful for us, especially with the nursing home subcommittee, if that communication could be shared with our chairman. And where she can disseminate, she will.
You know, based in part on our lack of experience, I don't think it's appropriate to commit on the level of frequency of communication. Chairman and the commissioners certainly know where to find me, and all of you do. I'm an easy guy to find. What I suggested was that we put in writing what we're going to do.
Okay.
And we can certainly make that available publicly to the commissioners, to the delegation and the staff and residents if they're interested, of course. It just states very clearly what we're doing. I'll sign it and the chairs will sign it, just so we're clear. We are certainly operating from the point of view that any material we gather is public material. We will be, I anticipate, interviewing and speaking with elected and local officials and writing up notes from those interviews and the like, and these are all going to be public documents. Our department has very strict confidentiality rules as it relates to taxpayer information. It's a misdemeanor if I disclose somebody's IND return without their authorization or a business use for that. That's a criminal penalty. We take that seriously, but no such penalty exists in the municipal area. This is all public correspondence, email, documents. So we're operating from a point of view that this is going to be a very public process, and we will end with a document that's a public document that summarizes our findings. But I got to let my team do their work in the meantime.
Thank you, Commissioner.
President Butler, you had a-
I did. Thank you, Madam Chair. When I first was a part of the process in learning that the state was interested, I was a bit hostile because I feel like, as difficult as it is, we are getting to a point as a delegation and as the county in identifying problems and working to resolve them. And then I asked the commissioner how much this would cost, and he said it won't cost the county anything, or the taxpayers anything, relative to the state's resources. And that made me feel a little better. And as we talked through it more, it became clear to me that what the state is offering is assistance, is a way of all of us coming together so that in September, even more than what we might have been able to achieve in terms of setting the tax rate, and as difficult as that's going to be, that they would be there to back us up so that we would feel better and that the taxpayers will have one more degree of confidence. And so my hostility has waned. And the other piece that, in terms of cost, that we discussed was that, at least in terms of our auditors, you may need to be interacting with them, and that that cost will accrue to the county. But at this point, there are no other costs that we know of. So, you know, obviously there's a degree of concern and lack of understanding and communication issues that need to be clarified, and however you can help with that, it will be much appreciated.
I appreciate that, Representative Butler, and I think it is fair to characterize what we're trying to do in part as offering assistance. We do have some self-interest here, like I said.
Of course.
But we would prefer to go about this in a cooperative, transparent manner that at the end of the day will hopefully provide the county some level of value. And if it doesn't, I'm sure I will be informed of such. But my goal and my high level of confidence is that we can do some work that will be helpful to the delegation and the commissioners as they move forward. And that next Memorial Day weekend, I'll be doing a 4-day weekend, and I'll be out on my motorcycle right now.
Nice. Nice.
I don't have a motorcycle. That's where I should be too. Representative Dillon.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner, you talked about the hope of being finished by Labor Day. How long do you anticipate it'll take to get the scope of work in place, and maybe when your staff would see actually beginning to do interviews and examination of information?
Yeah, without committing to it, I would
Right.
say a couple weeks, tops. Next week's looking pretty busy and it's a short week, but you know, by the end of the following week, something probably at the very least in draft form out to the chairman to discuss and hopefully get signed off on. And then, you know, no later than the 4th of July to get going in a substantive way. I should mention I've got a 2-person team in mind, and I'm going to assign one of our tax auditors as a reviewer. And then Steve and I will polish the final product and be in communication all along, but I want somebody without involvement in our municipal bureau, with an auditing background to make sure that any conclusions that are written all can be backed up to notes or documents, and that it's supported in an appropriate manner. Somebody who does audits all over the country should be able to do that. So that's how I'm planning to go about this. So that's the rough time frame.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. If I could boil this down, I've had conversation with a number of my constituents who expressed interest in getting to the degree of the issue here. And I was able to tell them that, yes, we've had a problem. As you spelled out before, the difference in the timelines. And I said, frankly, at this point in time, unless more information has surfaced, I said, I'm not sure anyone has a great understanding of the degree of the problem. So would I be correct in assuming in September that your report will detail where the county went astray, what it caused this to happen, and how to correct it on a going forward basis? Because that's kind of what I would be looking for.
Well, I don't want to set expectations too high about the where have we been and why did we go that route. My utmost concern is where are we right now? And in the interest of time and resources, I'm only going to go as deep and as far back as I need to go to gain whatever level, to gain that level of confidence that, yes, we are in $1 million deficit position on unassigned fund balance. And if I can get there relatively quickly without exerting a great deal of effort in my staff resources in unearthing how the last 2-3 years of Carroll County finances evolved, I'm not going to do it. But I also want to be able to make recommendations that will be useful enough to set us together on a course that's more positive going forward. So at some level, I just don't know. And if that is the result, then that's helpful for you, then so be it. That's not my goal. Is not to do a financial history so much as to do what needs to be done to gain a level of confidence that says this is an appropriate accounting and reporting of county finances as they exist today. And by virtue of doing that, we're going to have to look backwards a little bit. Steve, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say simply that this exercise will be to evaluate the current state and to look forward to the future. I would want to make sure that the expectations are not that high. This will not be a forensic audit of what has happened in the county over any number of years. That expectation would be too high. So this will be less than that, but we think that it will be helpful for understanding where you are right now and the immediate future.
And just to underscore that, like I've said, some of this is self-interested. I want to make sure I'm comfortable setting a tax rate. I've got a statutory duty to fulfill, and that duty intersects with this county at some level. It may be that in September you don't have the same, or somebody else at this level, at this table, doesn't have the same level of confidence I do. I hope they do, and I hope I'm able to generate that level of confidence for myself and everybody else. But we do have our own needs to fulfill by being here, and that's sort of number one. Number two is giving the county something that's useful going forward.
Representative McCarthy?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Representative McCarthy here. That level of confidence you're talking about, I have it right now. And I don't like the use of the word investigation. I do like the word review
I like that.
procedures. Investigation has a certain connotation in it. And I don't think that's what the problem is. I think the problem is procedural. I have confidence that you will find it quickly and give us an answer so it doesn't happen again, and I firmly believe that.
Representative Cordillo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sort of relates back to my time frame question, but while we're waiting to ramp up to get started, is there information that maybe the county can have or be preparing to, in advance of your work getting started? I'm thinking, for instance, of, I believe we've completed audits through 2012. We're awaiting 2013, 2014 won't be until the end of the year. But are there other things that you would anticipate having available for you when you do get started?
I think we've got the documents you refer to now already. I would defer to my colleagues.
One is, we would ask that the 2013 be fast-tracked if possible. At previous discussions, we had heard that it was possible that it would be ready for in June, and that would be preferable to beginning the process. And then our staff will actually provide papers to your county staff, to Kathleen, and tell her what we need. So we will be sending that to give, we won't just show up and just say, show us everything. And she'll be able to be prepared for us.
Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. To the commissioners, when we met with, Executive Council met with Commissioner and his staff last week or 10 days ago, whenever that was, the wish of the auditor had spoken when Commissioner Miller was asked when our 2013 was going to be completed. He was under the impression it was sometime in June. They were starting their work, hopefully the beginning of June. The request was made that that be pushed along, made a real priority, and that it would be brought in at the beginning of the month as opposed to the middle or the end, because it could slow the process down. Have the commissioners made that request to your auditor, and if you could share with us what the answer to that was?
I don't know if Commissioner Miller has made that request or not. This is the first I've heard of it, but I'll follow up on it and make sure that it is in position for the 1st of June. He may have already called our auditor.
Commissioners, do you have any comments, thoughts?
I do.
Yep, sure.
I had an excellent conversation with the commissioner over the phone. I thanked him for calling and informing me, bringing me up to date. I told him that he would have full cooperation with the Board of Commissioners and all our people that are in the finance positions here in the county. And hopefully that we could come to some good conclusions, bring us forward where we should be, and be looking forward to that written document at the end of your team's evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Babson?
I just want to thank the department and the commissioner for offering to help us, and look forward to getting to the point where we can go forward and have some confidence in our own numbers. As you know, I called you last fall, didn't need to cover for me. We're not going to get in that mess again.
I hope not.
Commissioner Beardmore, you had mentioned earlier that you were, would be talking to members of the delegation about various financial things. Do you have something that you or Steve or Kate would like us to focus on? Or, because each one of us, I think, around the room, has a different focus as to what, what's concerning us financially. And probably there's not a lot of people that are concerned about the fact that we ended the year at one figure and
A day later, it's a
and a
different
day
thing.
later it's a totally different figure. That concerns me, but that's not generally the focus of where our concerns are. And so I guess that what I'm trying to get to is that I don't want us to get down in the minutia if you want us at the 20,000 foot level. Or do you want us someplace between those two so that, I'll just use as an example, we have a nursing home subcommittee that is poring over many and varied things within what they believe is, going on in the nursing home. So, but this again is probably down, from your perspective, at the 3,000 foot level. And so I'm trying to see if we can try to come to grips as to, you know, where we want to be in this continuum, so that, you know, we're making progress and not just
Sure.
not just nits, if that's the right term.
In my mind, at the very least, our staff would speak with the executive committee and with the commissioners, and other members of the delegation of it, to the extent they'd like to be involved. The goal of such conversations would be to make sure that we're asking the right questions. I mean, that we're looking in the right places. And to some level, that we're satisfying or having the opportunity to look into the issues that are important to you. For example, something we've heard quite a bit about are receivables in the nursing home area. That's something we're going to take a look at, in the sense that what is the current state, and how does that, if at all, relate to your general fund undesignated surplus and the changing financial position as reported by 2 different annual financial documents? The answer may be there is no direct impact. The answer may be there could be, if you'd like there to be. I'm just hypothesizing here, but that's an example of something that we've heard about from several individuals around this table, and we ought to probably take a look at as we go, and put in writing what we believe to be the law and the proper procedure in this area. So we're happy to accumulate whatever thoughts at whatever level those who we speak to would like to share with us, and at some point we're going to have to separate the grain from the chaff and make a judgment call about what is useful to our review.
Well, the reason I was asking is that I'd certainly be willing to collect them and forward them to Kate or to whomever, so that, you know, or if you actually want to speak to people, then that's, you know, that's a different thing. But we do have, you know, lots of concerns out there, not only from us as a delegation, but from our interaction with our constituents. And that's, you know, you can let me know how you want to do it, but that's...
I think being in touch with Kate at this point is appropriate. If there's documents you think we need to look at, by all means, forward them along. But I also have a background in auditing, and I think interviews and conversations are just as important as spreadsheets, because that's how you identify what the issues are. They often don't appear while reviewing a spreadsheet without having the context.
May I ask, when you received the audits, did you receive the management letter that went along with that?
In some of them, yes. No. So we appreciate any management letters that you have.
So the commissioners need to send copies of the management letters for 11, 12, or 11, 12?
All that was included was
We can't.
Sorry, all that was included were the cover sheets from your the compilation reports. So there were references to management information, but I do not have the original documents that you would have forwarded to your CPA.
Yeah, I understand that the management letters were not an integral part of the audit, but rather a separate piece of correspondence.
GASB requires that there is a management letter, so we would like to review them.
Yeah. But they weren't an integral part of the audit.
They're part of discovery. So.
Yeah.
What years again?
Pardon me?
What years?
All the ones from, well, we can go back to 2010 would be fine.
Representative Avellini, you had a question?
I was going to speak to the management letters that they usually are part of the audit. And I also have a question for Commissioner Beardmore.
Certainly.
Thank you for coming today. Sorry, I was 2 minutes late, I was working.
No worries.
I was going, pouring through the nursing home minutia, and we found some missing months of revenues for certain things. But what concerns me, and I'm new, is that there's never a line for any uncollected debt brought forward in any of the sheets that I was given. I think that would be a prudent change, so we would be able to make adjustments instead of just giving a number of $2.4 million from 5 years ago that we're missing, or that's uncollected. We should be able to see, everything that's been billed and everything that's been collected, and then everything that is outstanding, so we can make an honest judgment call when it comes to budget. If those numbers can't be collected, they're written off. If they can be collected, it's a bonus when they're collected. You got thoughts on that?
I would defer to Kate for what's legally required under the
Yeah.
RSAs.
For GASB, because you realize that because the proprietary funds are under the accrual basis as opposed to the modified accrual. So what they would be doing for those particular funds is that what they would be reporting would be net of any.
Yeah, Kate, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Come up to the, yeah, why don't you come up to the table here, so. It's a big room and, Steve, you could come up, there's another chair there.
So what you'd be reporting to us would be net of your allowances for that type of documents. And as far as typically then then you can have sub-reports for the typical type of information you want for management to use. We would not be dealing with that that subordinate information. We deal with the higher level amount. That was what would be reported in the 45 and the 42. But those are the numbers that you would want to have for your management to make your decisions and that stuff. Those are items that you need to know about.
So, yeah, just
So
go
that's-
ahead.
And I think what Kate's saying is there's a certain level of detail that's required to be reported to the state and a certain level of detail that we have to have some confidence in, but I think what you're speaking about, Representative, is
Management.
management's ability to make those decisions. And that might be something we encounter in this review, it might not be. We don't want to get in the middle of your relationship with the county commissioners on every single matter, but the issues you raise seem reasonable to me. If you're going to be making estimates of revenues, supporting documentation is necessary.
If I understood what Kate was saying is that the bad debt, I guess, I'll use that term, is a decision that the commissioners would make in relationship to what is and what is not bad debt. And that as far as the state is concerned, they don't really care because what they care about in setting the tax rate are the receivables. And the receivables are a result of uncollected balances. And if you have written off some amount, then it's gone. And it shows from year to year.
And your allowance for uncollected is a management decision.
Mm-hmm. So that's. Did you have a follow-up?
I did, but it left me.
Oh.
I was trying to digest about all that.
By the way, you're way too young to have things leaving you.
Trying to find the right words.
Oh, okay. Representative Cordell?
Thank you. In terms of the uncollected receivables, let's say, before they're classified as bad debt, typically that would be shown in the financial statements that would be done. Would that, by an auditor, would that be correct?
What specifically are you, it depends, what are you referring to as looking at this subordinate information for the auditors? Is that, it depends on how they're reporting and what they're reporting. So I hate to get really too
Okay.
definite in saying what they should or shouldn't review.
Okay.
So I look into see what they actually have or have not included. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Are there any other questions from around the table? Representative Tysers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So am I understanding correctly that you will come up with a scope of work and you'll send that to the chair of the delegation, who will then have the authority to approve it or not approve it? And would then, this is a general question, would you share that with us? And my kind of second part to that is, in order to establish better trust, can we be assured that there won't be private meetings with the executive committee, that future meetings will be noticed and open to the entire delegation? I'm not sure that's a question for you.
Okay. Commissioner Beardmore said that it would be a combination of the chair of the commission and the chair of the delegation. And I will certainly share that with everyone, and will certainly ask for input if anybody has it. Because that is, that's what, very open, and I think that we all agree that we want to be transparent. And so that we want to make sure that all of us are on the same page, and that we're not doing things that are, quote unquote, not out there in relationship to actually moving forward with this review. Am I using the right term?
I think that's fair. I think it's important to note that there is no DRA policy or state RSA that spells out very clearly how we are to go about this endeavor. We're very confident that we have the authority and duty to make sure that we are setting tax rates in an appropriate manner for every political subdivision of this state. So we believe that we're on very firm footing in using our authority to do this type of review. How, in particular fashion, to go about doing that and with what level of approval or meeting is less rigid as we go forward. I came up with the idea of having the chairman and the chairman sign off on a document in the interests of efficiently moving forward and getting going. And in no way I'm trying to shield what we're doing from anybody, but I'd prefer not to have meetings and unanimous votes to move forward. I don't think we need that, and I don't think that's appropriate. But I want to be above board and very transparent with what we're doing. So my goal was to have the chair sign off, the chairman sign off over here. I don't anticipate a need to meet with the delegation or the executive committee at all in this process. I do think it would be appropriate for my team to interview separately, or speak with. Interview might be a little too formal, but speak with separately and have a conversation about their concerns. And Representative, if you'd like to speak with Kate, we're easy to find, and you're welcome to do that. But I think at some level we just need to move forward.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions? Well, Commissioner, I really, really thank you for taking time to join with us today, and I know that I'm looking forward to seeing the draft scope, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we get a tax rate set in September.
All right.
That is a for sure. But thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll look forward to our work together.
Is it fair to blame him for our taxes?
Yes.
Motion, anybody before you?
I don't think so.
Do you have a member of the public?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, Steve Brown from Wakefield. There was a comment from Commissioner Beardsmore that was a little concerning to me. He stated that going through this process, it would be documentation as provided by Carroll County. Through my few years of attending county meetings, I believe that the DRA should have unfettered access to any and all financial documents of Carroll County and not just the documents as provided by Carroll County. And I have a question also. As I read, reported in the newspaper, there were, in 2014, there were 180 violations of bills that were paid out of 2015 year's budget, and I didn't hear that addressed at the last delegation meeting, and I think that that's concerning, and that the DRA should make it very clear as to whether paying bills out of a subsequent year's budget is actually appropriate and or legal. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And I believe, I hope that this will all show up when whatever occurs is occurring. Because as Commissioner Beardmore started out saying, the reason that he became extremely concerned is because of the difference between the beginning of the year and the end of the year. And they're only one day apart. And so I know that if there are things that need to be discovered in that area, that it's my belief that they will be.
I understand the gentleman's concern about access to data. When I say provided by the county, practically speaking, we don't know where to look. In the first instance, we've got to take what the county gives us, and we'll certainly develop follow-up questions based on what we see in that information. And we would expect cooperation in getting answers to those questions. As far as the transactions, the particular transactions that you're talking about, I can't make any promises that that's a level of detail that we're going to look at. That to me sounds more like an audit, a financial audit issue. For example, my department was just audited, and it was found that we did not properly, in a couple instances, segregate expenses into the proper fiscal year. We didn't. We agreed that we didn't, and we said we'd do it right going forward. I mean, that's the type of thing that a full-blown financial audit would do testing on. That's how the auditors who audited my operations found those errors. They did a random sample of thousands of transactions and found some that did not pass muster. I agreed that we made that mistake, but in a $17 million budget, which is what I have, you're going to make a couple mistakes along the way, but they didn't have any material impact on my financial situation. So I just don't want to have your level of expectation, sir, to be that we would be testing financial transactions. We are unlikely to be doing that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming, and have a nice
All
ride
right.
home.
We
And
hope to.
yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
And
Take
thank
care.
you.
All right.
We'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for coming, Steve. You too. Thank you, Katie.
I have violated the first rule of public hearings, and that is that they are supposed to start on time. And so I will open the public hearing dealing with appropriation for commissioner legal fees, which is over by at least $4,884. So I would ask that the commissioners give us a,
Did you get the agenda?
little background on that, and then if there's anyone from the public that would like to make a comment, I will ask for that.
And we can outside agencies.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
if I could speak to that.
certainly.
We had suggested that that money come out of the survey regarding compensation.
Okay, could you tell me
That's
where,
about $5,000.
could you tell me where that is in the budget?
Number 15? I forget what that figure is in
Who's it under?
compensation, but
What department?
Special services, I think he's talking about the compensation study.
Under commissioners.
No, under special fees and services. 4102.
It's on page
Yeah.
2?
Carol, that's one.
No, don't look at that one, look at your budget.
Oh, our actual budget.
Yeah.
What day did it
Well, I'm looking at 428. Okay, the compensation study,
what page is that, please?
in the budget, it's on page 2. Well, you know, that's.
have to find 428.
Is that the 2015 one or the 2014 one?
428 is the date. This is what you received at our last,
You get three plans.
at our last, meeting.
Thank you.
Page 2,
Compensation
Page
studies on
2.
page 3.
Well, mine says page 2, and it's line number 27.
Correct. That item is $15,000, that was approved by the delegation.
Mhm.
I believe we can put that off, it doesn't have to be done right away.
Could
And
you,
that money would be taken out of that item.
would you refresh my memory as to what the compensations, why we decided to do the compensation study?
This was to look at the total county wage issue and see if we are in where we should be, at what level we should be.
You suggested by the delegation.
Performance.
Suggested by the
Performance
delegation.
audit. The recommendation and the performance.
Well, let HR tell you what,
That'd be
what's
fine.
in there.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The $15,000 was put into that category as a result of the performance audit to look at the wage and compensation of all the non-union positions in the county. And that was the amount that was suggested by the Performance Audit Committee.
Yeah, the performance audit,
Performers, I
Yeah.
forget what their name is, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever they, matrix.
Matrix, that's right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there any comments? Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Senator.
So if you could just remind me, our shortcoming that the commissioners have presently for that line was 7,000?
No, what they gave me was $4,884. I think that's probably a bad number, but that's the number they gave me.
And are the commissioners proposing that they would pull that amount of money out of the compensation fund, or are they looking to liquidate the compensation fund by $15,000 and move it into that line? I'm confused.
Ask them.
What are the commissioners proposing?
We're proposing to take that 4,000 out of that 15,000. However, if you're talking about liquidating that 15, whatever's left, the balance, we're gonna need more money in legal. We got a case that just went to the court regarding a nurse, and whether Primex picks that up or not, I don't know yet. It just went over either yesterday or this morning. And so we're gonna have more legal fees that we don't have enough money in our budget for. I don't know what that figure will be.
Thank you, yes, having sat through a few negotiations by the commissioners on wages on a continual basis, as we do, with both non-union employees and with union employees, and where that level should be, and, you know, whether it's a good rate or not a good rate. It seems to me, from HR's conversations in the past, and conversations that we've had around this table, that would seem to be a worthwhile investment of our money and time. Did the commissioners look at other places that they could withdraw that money? I'm not so certain that that's somewhere that we should. It's your decision. I'm just asking, did you look elsewhere?
Yes, we did. Go ahead. Yes, we did, and we made another decision, and that was to move the increases for outside agencies back to last year's level. And we sent out the checks this week with a letter saying that that's where we stand today, but we may have to take more away.
If I could. If I could, Commissioner Babson, my,
Let me just.
I'll just try and find out what
No,
that
just a minute, We're in a public hearing, okay? So once we close the public hearing, then you can ask these kinds of detailed questions, okay? Because we're just trying to get the framework,
Okay.
okay, for what's going on. And then if the public has any discussion, then we'll let them do it. Then I can close the public hearing and we will have
Deliberation.
deliberation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
because that's, so if I, and that's what I was trying to frame.
Okay.
So we're talking about taking 4,800 roughly out of the compensation study, and how much out of the agencies, the outside agencies?
Well, the question was.
Just
did
tell
we
me
look
how much.
someplace else?
How much?
They don't know. I mean, either we take it out of one, or we take it out of another.
Okay, so,
We suggested we take it out of the compensation fund and leave the agencies alone temporarily.
except I thought Commissioner Babson said he'd already sent the checks and the letters saying it's been reduced.
No, if I did, I misspoke, Madam Chair. We sent a letter saying that the recommendation to the delegation would be their funding would be set back to last year's level.
This is if we didn't choose the compensation money. Is that what you're telling me? Okay. So, are there any comments from the public on this? Yes, Mr. Brown. State your name, please.
Pardon?
State your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve Brown, Wakefield. My recollection serves me correctly, I believe it was through the performance audit that it was sort of agreed that the county attorney would be used wherever possible to try to keep the legal expense line in control. Am I correct in my recollection? And if that is the case, are we utilizing the county attorney wherever possible to try to control that legal expense line that seems to grow by the day, month, or year in Carroll County?
Commissioner Babson, would you mind answering that question, or Commissioner Babson, doesn't matter? Sorensen or Babson?
I didn't, I thought you had spoken to him on one of the cases I have.
Yes, we have tried to do that. These are past expenses, legal expenses, this 4,800. We had talked with the previous attorney. She declined to represent us. She didn't have the expertise in that particular area, so we went outside. She recommended we go outside. But from now on, we're gonna try to use our county attorney or the assistant county attorney in helping whatever legal matters that may come up.
So, all right, are there any other public comments? Mr. Groot?
It's not a matter of the public, but just for
Yes, it is.
Mr. Brown's clarification, yes, we do try to use the county attorney. Unfortunately, the county attorneys are prosecutors and they don't take care of employment law, and a lot of the legal fees that are being incurred are employment law fees, but we have been asking the county attorney when there's contracts to review and things like that, we absolutely have asked his assistance, so to reduce the costs of the legal fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further public comments? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 2:14. Okay. Now, we can go to discussion. So if I understand what I'm hearing, is that the commissioners are proposing the 4,800, which would bring them to zero. And that sounds like they'll be back next week, because the personnel committee just spent $500 this morning, okay, on a personnel issue. So I am not of the persuasion that we should only solve the problem that occurred on May 7th, but rather we should try to fix the legal thing for the entire year. We put 18,000 into legal. The commissioners had originally asked for 30,000.
Correct.
So, if in fact they believe that they could live within the 30,000 figure, we could take the 12,000 from the compensation study. Or we could be generous and give them the 15,000 from the compensation study. Or from the other sheet that we got that showed where we had some other problems, we may want to look at that. But I also am questioning, I'm also questioning that it was my understanding that we had renegotiated our propane contract, and that the dollar figure that was in the budget reflected the unnegotiated propane contract. You know, I mean the prior one. We didn't put into the budget the new number. And so, you know, my question is, and I don't know the answer to that, is what is in the budget in that propane line, I'll get right to you, and is that a better or a worse place? So, anyhow, go ahead, Commissioner Babson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, we reduced all of those facilities that use the propane, reflecting our new contracts.
We did.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes,
It
we
was,
did.
I
And
didn't
the other
think.
question you had was on the insurance. And we had taken the savings on the insurance to use that to pay for the wage increases at the nursing home.
I thought I did not know, I did not remember, I'll put it that way. You're gonna turn the camera off so you don't see me eating this, right? Okay, so we have in fact reduced the propane.
Yes,
is
ma'am.
what you're telling me. Okay? Yes, Representative McConkey,
Thank you, I'd like to just continue.
I rudely interrupted him because we were not following that.
We have that sort of relationship anyway. The Commissioner Babson, I don't, if the reasoning was that $4,000 figure, whatever it might be, would come out of the compensation, or you were prepared to go back to the outside agencies and reduce that amount, which you're saying takes them back to last year's appropriation.
Right.
And other than one agency, okay, well, that's my question, if you could highlight to me what who those
I
agencies were.
believe representatives were two, maybe it was three. And I think the grand total increase was something like $5,000.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me where the propane contracts were in the budget?
Yeah, for the nursing home, you did the one for this building, jail.
Well, that could be,
The old
but
nursing home.
that doesn't, is this the fuel line?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Heat.
Heat or fuel?
Propane is used for heat.
Well, I don't have a heat under administrative building.
Public administrative, I'm looking at this one.
You reduced your fuel, Madam Chairman, for the.
By
for
$3,000.
This building alone by $1,000.
How many?
$1,000.
From 17 to 16.
Okay, okay, let's see, we had Representative Cordelli and then Butler,
Thank you.
and then, yeah, and Frank, and then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Talked about, one, the compensation study, and two, the regional appropriations and outside agencies as it was put previously. If we decide to put additional funds from the compensation study into legal expenses, are you then rescinding your letter to the regional appropriations that you are not planning to reduce those appropriations for 2015 to 2014 levels?
To try to answer your question, we're still trying to figure out what we've paid our auditors and what is due to us. We're gonna have a balance there that's gonna be due in
That's a-
2015.
That's a different problem,
Yeah,
you don't,
well, I'm just trying to answer part of this question.
but you don't, what we're looking at today, and that's why I said, we have other issues in this budget other than just legal. Representative Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Relative to the compensation study, it seems to me, on the face of it, that in our non-union wages, we have had no, in my experience over a few years, no challenges from the outside world to what we're paying or why we're paying or what the basis upon which we are making those salary and wage determinations. I understand that from the performance audit, it was raised to a level of concern that there should be this formal compensation study. Maybe it's just because I'm old-fashioned, but I think that that is much less of a priority than many of the things in our budget. The performance study, the audit said that, you know, there was some legal or potential legal challenge to our wage system if we didn't do a compensation study and do the comparison of what we're paying to what the outside world is paying. I just don't get it. So I would I would support not proceeding with that effort this year and using that money in some other way.
Who's next? Representative McCarthy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things I'd like to mention. One, I understand that the last time we had a problem with the 91A lawsuit, that you did go to the county attorney, and that's the previous county attorney, and she opted out of her obligation according to the RSAs because she said she didn't have the expertise in 91A for cases. I don't think that relieves the county attorney of his lawful duties. The RSA say that the county attorney will defend any officer or employee of the county who is sued.
Okay.
So,
Frank. We're off topic here.
we're talking about money for the counties,
Right, but
for
we're not-
attorney's fees, right?
We're not talking about money to take care of a 91A case. Okay.
I know that. You must not have been listening to what I said.
I was listening very carefully to what you said. What we're looking at is a judgment, okay, that had to be paid, as well as whatever else might come up for the rest of the year.
That's my
And-
point.
And,
What might come up for the rest of the year, the county attorney should cover.
when they can, they will.
And in my opinion, we shouldn't put that extra money in there because the county attorney should do his job. And that's what I was getting to.
Okay, well then you should have said that.
I did.
I didn't hear it. Representative Evelina.
On the legal fees for the jail, there's $5,500 that was accounted for in the budget. May I ask if any of the expenditures on the legal line have anything to do with jail, and maybe they could be picking up some of these fees?
I'm sorry, what,
Any of the fees that you're talking about, the $18,000 you spent, have any of that done with the jail? Because there's $5,500 in their legal fee budget.
no, I believe the jail 5,500 is for labor negotiations.
It says just legal fees, not labor negotiations.
Well,
That's where it
Is that
goes.
legal fees?
So, could I have a motion of some kind or other?
Question?
Not that it would be seconded.
Okay, I think, I want, I'm enjoying this whole discussion, okay? But I would like to get us forward to either saying that we agree with the commissioner's decision to use the money from the compensation study and how much of it, okay? Did we want to use? And so that's where, or is there some other place in the budget that you would rather identify to take this money from? So that's why I'm looking for a motion, so that we can move forward instead of whatever. So, Representative Butler, would you like to make a motion?
I would move that we move $10,000 from the compensation study line to cover current overage of legal expenses and additional expected expenses.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Thank you. Okay.
Discussion.
Open for discussion. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. No, that's good.
Point of order? Is it legal for the chair to second it? No, the chair can't make a motion. Can the chair
Oh, sure.
second the motion?
Sure.
Do you want to second instead, Fred? Oh, I may have to second yours, you never know. Okay. These are really good. Representative Conkey.
Thank you. I don't think I'll be supporting $10,000. They've asked for $4,884. And my concern is, I believe, as the chairman has brought up, there are more issues of expense lines that are overspent that need to be addressed, and I'm hoping we address them today. And I certainly don't want to be throwing any more into the pot than is necessary at this point, because I think we're gonna have to find more money. Point number one. Point number two is,
So would you like to make an amendment to the motion?
$5,000.
Okay. So $5,000,
Seconded.
just a moment, thank you, means they will be back next week with another request for legal. And that's okay. That's the motion and the amendment. So would you speak to your amendment?
Thank you. Commissioners originally came in, I believe, asking for $30,000, which was a substantial increase during our budget of the year previous. And I made the motion to cut it to where it is so that we would have an ongoing knowledge of what's happening with legal, which we haven't had previous to this date. Now, my understanding is that where they're asking for money to clear up their case that they had previously, and I know that today we expended $500 plus or minus, and we're gonna have to expend probably that again because the hearing that we're involved in got put off for another time. So I would like to amend my amendment. But I'm only going to $6,000. Second, which should cover the expenses that we know about, unless there's something someone wants to tell us new, and should handle the case that we're dealing with. So, Madam Chairman, I would like to amend my amendment to $6,000.
So if I understand the motion on the floor, which has been seconded, is that we take $6,000 out of the compensation study committee line.
027.
14, whatever it is. Okay, yes, Representative McCarthy.
Yes, just a question. I agree that if there is knowledge of additional costs that are gonna come up, that we should add that into whatever the figure is. My question is, do you have knowledge of any additional costs that will be going to for that? That you know of, that you're pretty certain is gonna come up?
Mr. Group?
At this point, because we were just in court yesterday, I do not know if Primex is going to cover it. They were not going to cover it prior, but because it's at court now, they may cover it, so I do not know a definitive answer to your question at this moment. I would know next week, but in my opinion, yes, it will incur more costs.
This is the case that the Personnel Committee tried to handle?
Not this morning, this is the
this is
one that
different.
went to court before, that, the nurse that
What's the-
Commissioner Swan said,
What's the case?
Gaynor.
Gaynor versus the county.
Do you know the amount, a follow-up, Madam Chair? Do you know?
I do not.
Well, then I don't think we should enter it in.
Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm hearing that some of this, the 4,800 plus the amount in the budget is for 2014 cases. Am I mistaken in that? These are all current 2015 cases.
They were settled in 2015.
They were settled in 2015?
That's right, that's right.
They were all settled in,
This 4,800 was settled
What
in
about-
2015
right,
by
what
the
about,
judge.
if I could ask we're talking a total of the 18,000 plus the 4,800. So it's 23,000.
Exactly right.
Let me finish my question before you agree with me, although I'd like you agreeing with me. The 23,000 is all cases that are settled in 2015.
Yes, I believe so,
23,000 includes 2014.
up to date.
Because 2014, we took tax anticipation line of credit money that was targeted for 2015 to fill the hole in the deficit for 2014. So anything that was settled in 2014 and that we got billed in 2014 should have been covered by the tax anticipation note borrowing. So,
Excuse me, in 2014, our legal fees were $41,779.
right, which were
Okay,
double or triple the
doesn't matter.
budget.
That's how much it was.
Right,
And what has occurred is that this is legal fees that have been incurred since 1 January.
right, that's what I wanted to make sure, yes. Could, follow?
Certainly.
Could we get a detailed listing of these cases and the date of settlement for these cases that would reflect the $2,300 that we're talking about?
Yes, we could.
23,000.
23,000, sorry.
Oh, I agree with you on that other one.
What, you're at your
The
quota?
2,300.
You're at your quota?
Okay, so that's fine. Commissioner Sorensen will forward to the delegation a list of the cases and the cost of the 20, and some of it may have carried over from 14. No.
Yeah.
The legal expenses that the commission has paid, a listing of the legal expenses the commission has paid since 1 January. Okay. Did I see Ms. Representative Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My only concern on all of this is, as we, I would say nickel and dime, as we try to save money, which we are, and we try to move things around, that it may cause someone not to, might be cheaper to do one thing rather than to fight a legal case, for example. They might be able to settle for $5,000, whether it's not worth taking on the challenge because it's going to cost more. I almost think we're in one way sending the wrong message. Don't take on any challenges because you're going to save money. We won't have to steal it from something else or, rearrange the numbers.
I would hope that when the commissioners make decisions about going to court, or, once a case is in court, that they try to do just that. I mean, if they don't, then I don't think they're... Oh, don't draw that conclusion. Representative Eflin.
Given the fact we don't have accounting of what the legal fees are up to date, I'm hesitant to give them any more.
Well, we have an accounting up through May 7th. And the May 7th letter that I emailed to everybody, I believe, says that they are over by $4,884. And so I have to believe that this is a true statement. If you don't, then you'll vote no. Representative Ticehurst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we actually brought this problem on ourselves when we adopted the budget that we adopted. And I agree that probably if we're going to stick to exactly what we budgeted and not even think about the fact that we might need to adjust the amount of money that we raise this year at this time, that we need to at least understand that the compensation study was in there for a reason. And that was a reason that had to do with fairness. It had to do with how we operate as a business. it was a financial decision to do as well. And the compensation study wasn't just to see how we compare with other places, to see, I won't even go down that political route, but it was also to establish some level of consistency within the county and to make sure that we were starting people at a fair and reasonable place across departments and within departments, and that we were also, if we were allowing any steps based on merit, as I often hear mentioned here, or on length of service or improved qualifications or any other reason, that there was a justification for doing it. And that is being responsible to the taxpayers. So even though I may or may not support the motion, the amendment and then the motion, I don't want to do it thinking that, oh, well, we didn't really need that. It's not really hurting anything to take the money from that, because it is hurting things here. It's hurting our staff and it's hurting our taxpayers.
And all I can say is that that was the recommendation that the commissioners made. They could have chosen something else. So I'm accepting that, that recommendation. And I agree with every single word that you said.
Further comment by this.
Yes, you have a follow-up?
A follow-up, and that is correct. I agree with you that it is the commissioner's recommendation, but it's our responsibility to accept or reject
And I
that
concur.
recommendation.
And so do you have another suggestion as to where you would take the money from?
No, because I don't think we have the climate here to succeed with that. So I would just go on the merit, this one particular motion.
Never know.
Separately.
You never know.
Can't we take that as separate? That's a little humor.
I needed some humor. Representative Evelina,
Sorry.
did you have your hand up?
No.
No? Okay. Seeing nothing else, the motion of the amendment, well anyhow, would you read the amendment? I hope no one watches this.
To move $6,000 from the compensation study line to cover the current overage and additional expected expense in the legal line.
The motion right now is just on the
Just changing the number, right?
$6,000 right now. So all those in favor of moving $6,000 from the compensation line, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Glenn? 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So would one of the people on the opposition please make a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, for a point of order,
Mhm.
I believe the motion on the floor is to move $10,000 and that
Oh,
we
you're
just
right.
voted on an amendment.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Thank you. Hannah?
Right.
I don't know, was that your figure? Okay, $6,000.
It was amended to, so.
Okay, all right.
Another amendment.
Motion on the floor is,
To move $10,000 from the compensation study line to cover the current overage and additional expected expense in the legal line.
okay.
I thought that was amended.
It was.
But we,
6,000, and that was.
We killed
and that
it.
was defeated.
So it goes back to the original.
Okay, all those in favor of moving $10,000, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, all right? Would someone out there please make a different motion or a similar motion? I don't care. But we're going to solve this problem before we go home tonight,
Ed?
Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to move that we take $6,000 from the IT equipment line to move to legal to cover the anticipated 4884 as per the commissioner's letter to the delegation.
Can you tell me where that is?
Yes, I'm sorry, it's account 100-8000, line number 097.
For what department?
It's under information technology.
Say that again.
100.8000.097.
So under the,
Somebody find it, let me know.
I'm sorry, I'll look for a page number.
Page 20.
Is this Commissioners 1,000, County Attorney 2490?
oh no, here it
Sheriff
is.
8,000?
Oops, no.
That's not
It's on page 20, or on my sheet.
Is that the budget?
Here.
Glenn, can you give me the number again?
It's 100.8000.097.
Are you
It's under
looking,
the new equipment,
are you looking under, you're looking at the budget, right?
yes. But the one I'm looking at is dated 3/19.
Oh, okay.
So it's
I know.
around page 20, it's under information technology, which follows the farm.
And that line, as it's defined here, is $1,000 for the Commissioners, 2490 for the County Attorney, and 8,000 for Sheriff, is that correct?
That's, I believe that's the part of the detail within this line.
In information technology, the total was,
14,610.
was,
Right, and it's my,
where are you finding 14,610? If you are looking on page 11 of the budget, I have a total budget
It's 11.
Yeah, no.
It's 11 and 9.
for information technology of $248,108.
that's the total budget,
Yes.
correct.
And what are you suggesting that we take this from?
From the equipment line,
New equipment line?
new equipment line,
That's not good.
which is
Okay,
.097.
all right. Everybody find that? It's on page 11 of the budget, dated 4/28.
Share this.
And the suggestion is to move how much out of that line?
6,000.
6,000. You
There
got
was,
that, Melissa? Go ahead.
if I might, based on my looking at the first quarter numbers, the number as of the end of the first quarter in that line item was $14,446. So there was a small expenditure during the first quarter.
Yes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering what department would have to give up what equipment? Okay, but what does the delegation think is reasonable? What does the delegation think was not reasonable or not necessary in that line item? Because we voted on that because we believed that that equipment was necessary. What has changed?
We're not, I don't think we're arguing that, Representative Tysers. What we're trying to do is to find someplace between $6,000 and $12,000 to cover the legal costs. And I don't care whether it comes out of this, we voted for it not to come out of the compensation study. And so what Representative Cordelli is suggesting is that we take it out of new equipment in the IT line. And so I agree, every penny that we have allocated is essential. However, as essential as everything is, the commissioners have had to spend more money than they were allocated, than every penny that we allocated them. And so now it becomes a decision as to, out of the rest of these line items, what is not important. You know, if it were me and looking at the same page, you know, I might choose something different. For example, I might choose that we stop all travel. I might suggest that we stop all conferences. I might suggest that we not hire for the next 3 months. I might suggest, okay, I might suggest many other things, okay? But I'm looking for because it's not only going to be this. We're gonna be back next month because they don't know how much the auditor's gonna cost. We're gonna be back next month because if you look at this little other sheet that was prepared for us, we've got a lot of places that were, you know, that we need to tell the commissioners, stop spending the money. No, we don't have to tell them that. That's their responsibility. So this is Representative Cordelli's suggestion. Whether it's the right suggestion or the wrong suggestion, I can't, you know, we'll vote on it. But that's why I was looking for other suggestions. Did I get a second to your motion? Yes, I did. Did anyone second the motion on the IT? No. No, okay.
Not yet.
Is there anyone that will second the motion to remove $6,000 from the IT line?
to do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We all make
Okay.
Wait a minute, you can pay up. It's got one coming.
Okay, Representative Avelini,
Can we have a 5-minute recess to go over some things now?
we can certainly take a 5-minute recess.
We're supposed to manage the budget.
Sorry.
Nursing has somebody, but, you know, with the word processor. So, we do a receptionist.
I know, I just,
He does shoot like
well, if we can get,
Good, how you doing?
if we can get through this, I've got, just a couple of other things. And then we can go. Representative Avelini, I believe that I understand you have a motion.
Sure.
Thank you.
right now.
Oh, we didn't get a second? Oh,
Yes.
Representative Cordelli, I think
Yes.
you're first, right?
Thank you very much. I would like to withdraw my motion for taking the $6,000 from the IT equipment.
Will you withdraw your second?
Yes, I withdraw.
Okay, now, Representative Avelini, I understand you have a motion.
I would like to make the motion of whatever you just said I had to make a motion to.
I second.
Would that be the paper I gave you?
I vote yay.
I would like to take the $4,800 out of the...
How much?
Whatever,
Just
$6,000 out of the pig barn project.
You're gonna expose pigs together.
You said pig barn project. Pigs don't even have one.
If I could, Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Thank you.
Any further comment?
Representative McConkey.
Thank you. I believe the good representative is referring to a $18,500 proposal to make addition to the wood processing building.
Point of order, Madam Chairman?
Well, do you have a comment, or what's your point of order?
You voted it down 2 or 3 months ago.
Exactly.
But they,
Just a moment. What happened to the insurance settlement?
The what?
insurance.
You lost it like you told you were gonna happen if you didn't go
We
forward.
lost $3,000.
$3,800.
Out of,
Out of a total of 16.
Okay, so there is indeed 13,000 left from that.
If he's talking about the money that's left, yes. If he's
That's-
talking about the project.
No, but that's what he's talking about, is the money that is left. Okay, that was the point of order.
That's the point, that there was, my understanding is that we had roughly $13,000, $10,000, and that you were not moving forward, the commissioners were not moving forward with that addition. And so I think the question is, where is the $10,000?
Is it in the budget anywhere that we can find? Because we did vote against that line in the budget.
Right, no, it's not in the budget, but it should be in somewhere.
Should be somewhere in revenue council.
Right, but it's not in the budget. How can we vote in any way concretely about it if we don't have something that we can refer to?
I can't tell you.
Well, I guess if we could add, if we could ask the question, where's the $10,000?
In a bank account somewhere.
Surplus?
Yes? Commissioners, do you have any idea where this money is?
I'm sure we've got it. $10,000, that was the insurance settlement. You know, it's so confusing what you people have done with that bond. You added some, you've taken it away, you lost money. I don't know where we are with that project,
With what project? The pig barn?
the bond project.
Pig barn. Well, I know where we are, we're no place.
That's right.
But we did receive some amount of insurance money. What we did not receive was the additional money that the insurance company said that we would receive as we in fact replaced the pig barn.
Right.
Commissioner Babson?
Madam Chairman, I can't tell you where it is in the budget sheet, but I was assured by Kathy Gary when we were working on it that the money was set aside, that we still had it.
Representative McCarthy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know there is a motion on the floor, but I guess this is really a point of order that I think that I should bring up, because I realize that House Bill 526 has not yet been signed by the governor, and therefore it is not in effect. However, when it does come into effect, when the commissioners make a written request, they will be required to determine from where the money is coming from and to where and why. Why are we changing that tonight? Now, why don't we just let the commissioners are requesting some extra money, why don't we let the commissioners do their job and say, this is where we want to take it from? Of course, we can, you know, we don't have to buy that, but I think, you know, if that's the way it's gonna be in the future, why don't we just start it now?
Thank you.
Because we have a current law which says that the executive committee has to approve any overspending, and I'm looking for that, and of course I can't find it, but Commissioner Miller was very kind to remind me of that and send it to me. And so we cannot do anything except that which is current law. And the commissioners came to us with a recommendation, and the delegation turned the recommendation down. And so
Follow up on my point of order?
it now becomes our responsibility to, thank you, to figure out, thank you, it says, exceeding appropriations. No county commissioner or elected or appointed county officer shall pay or agree to pay or incur any liability for the payment of any sum of money for which the county convention has made no appropriation or in excess of any appropriation so made. In the case of an emergency, the commissioners or an elected or appointed county officer may apply to the executive committee, after which a public hearing may grant the county commissioners in writing authority to make such payment. Unless otherwise ordered by the convention, whenever it appears the amount appropriated will not be used in whole or part for such purpose, the commissioners may use such sums to augment other appropriations if necessary, provided the total payments for all purposes do not exceed the total sum of appropriations in any year. If the county commission, blah, 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 is found in a prosecution for violation to have paid or incurred any liability, it is prima facie evidence that commissioner has knowingly refrained from the duty imposed by law. So, that's what
Follow up.
that's what we are operating under at this point. And so what we're simply trying to do is that if we all would have said, fine, we'll take the money out of the compensation study, we could have almost gone home. But that is not what the vote of the delegation was. And so until we figure out where we are going to come up or where we want to tell the commissioners to take this money from, we're going to sit here. Yes, Ms. Representative.
I understand everything you said, Madam Chair. I agree with you, and I am very, very familiar with that law. However, last year, that law was violated 164 times, and we did nothing about it.
I know.
Now all of a sudden, we're gonna do something?
That's correct, because we had an awakening. We had an awakening. And so that's where we are. And we're not going to go back to sleep. So we have a motion on the floor right now to take $6,000 from the insurance settlement for the farm. And we have a second.
Divided this second.
No, we already have a second.
Can I third it?
Yes, you may. And by the way, thank you for, I don't know if we're, it's here, yes.
But my problem is, I just don't understand, because I think what we have to do is agree to move from one line to another line, and I don't see a line that we're moving from.
Okay. And there is also revenue side, that if it's excess,
I need a line.
oh, you're not gonna find a line, because it's not,
I can't support the motion.
because it's not recorded as revenue in 15. It was recorded as revenue in 14.
May I follow up then?
Sure.
And then, would it be in unused funds then, like the surplus? Because I don't have to say anymore.
I don't know what.
I need a line.
I don't know what we have in surplus. Okay, I think that has been pretty clear. And of course, I did not bring, or did I? I don't have, oh yes, I do. Oh, I looked in the wrong spot.
Might I offer a suggestion?
You may offer a suggestion.
While the commissioners sort out the $6,000, maybe we should withdraw that. And then I would propose that we would take $7,000 from the HR part-time employee line, which has not been funded or staffed yet. That gives us $7,000. if the commissioners find the $10,000 and we feel that it's now appropriate to staff the part-time HR position, that could be reversed. How's that, Dan? Right now, we have $7,000 sitting there doing nothing.
And it gives Representative Ticehurst a line.
And we do have a line for that, by the way. Yeah.
Representative Evelyn,
I will remove my motion and say what Steve said.
will you
There's already a motion on the floor.
I would remove my second,
withdraw your second?
to withdraw my second.
Okay, so Representative Schmidt is making a motion to take $7,000 from Human Resources.
That's the part-time, it's line 006.
4103, line 006.
Okay. Did I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Discussion? Yes, sorry. No, Representative.
No, I'd still like on that motion to make the recommendation that we get itemized accounting of illegal cases.
Oh, we've already gotten that.
We're all on
He's,
that?
yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Sorensen has already indicated that he will send that to the delegation.
Thank you.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it is my expectation that this part-time position is something that the HR department wants. Is that still correct?
The RFP was written, I believe, last week.
I'm sorry, the what?
RFP for that
Wouldn't be an
position.
Or the,
She's been right out straight, doing all kinds of stuff, and hadn't had time to do it.
okay.
I would hope you would simply not, I would hope you wouldn't do an RFP. I would hope you would put a
Add in the paper.
ad in the paper.
Ad
but-
in the paper, okay.
Follow-up, please?
Yes, we-
So this elusive $10,000 that we're talking about in terms of insurance settlement, is there a line that would go to in revenue? Is there a place that can be documented so that it can be moved? How are we?
No line item,
I'm sorry.
no line item.
So my concern is that we're going to take away a position that is expected and being advertised. And that this $10,000 settlement needs to be,
Surface.
yeah, in order to make that transition. Can you please work with whoever needs to have that happen so that can be
Yes,
acknowledged? Thank you.
I'll do that.
Yeah, there is in fact nothing in the revenue from 2014 that shows or whatever it was, about $12,000 coming in as an insurance settlement.
Maybe the year before, probably.
13?
Probably the 2013, probably.
I don't see anything in 2013.
It doesn't carry over.
I've got 12, 13, and 14 here. Oh wait, insurance refunds. Is that it?
That's it?
0.
Zero to that.
What page was that?
In 12, 0 and 13, and 0 and 14, so you didn't zero it out.
Page 1.
I've got county miscellaneous income, I don't know what that is. 28 and 14, 9 and 13, or 12. 28 and 12, 9 and 13, and 70 and 14.
I believe that's sale of metal and things like that. That's my understanding.
But anyhow, there is nothing here that shows insurance settlements. So,
Seems odd.
okay,
We got a motion on the floor.
so we have a motion on the floor
Yes, we do.
for the $7,000 to be removed from the HR part-time position. And did Representative Butler want to add an amendment to that says you will try to find?
Yes, I would, because if the commissioners can clearly identify the insurance money from the settlement that we have talked about, and identify it within the revenue lines, then the delegation agrees that this line item should be replaced, should be restored.
Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I question the ability to do that, because if it's like a town situation, you can take in $1 million, but you still can't spend more than was appropriated to spend. So if that's somewhere else, we're liable by that line we approved, so I don't know if that can be done.
That's true.
So let's go with the
we're
original
not-
motion.
I like the
Okay.
But you're talking about, excuse my interruption, you're
That's
talking about taking away a position that the Human Resources Department expects because they haven't yet filled that position.
Because the commissioners have overspent legal.
And the commissioner's overspending isn't necessarily the Department of Human Resources
And I-
responsibility or
Right.
concern.
I totally agree with you, but that's what happened.
Don't forget where the commissioners voted 3-0, where to take it from, and you turned it down.
Mhm.
Right.
Representative Cordelli?
I would support this motion, although it had been my desire to see the commissioners use that part-time position to aid in the nursing home collections instead. I think that is everyone's priority, and I think that that's where that position would have been better utilized. So perhaps if they are able to restore money from the insurance settlement, they would consider that approach instead.
We can always add money in a supplemental budget if they find it. Okay?
And I agree with Representative Nelson, my amendment wasn't seconded and I don't think it's possible, so.
Okay.
Still under discussion?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to state the obvious if I could. All right, we have an insurance settlement that we've been talking about using to repurpose on the farm for a purpose. Commissioners made a clear case to us that if we didn't move forward, we were gonna lose $3,000 or $4,000. Did not agree with them, and that stopped. And I apologize if we brought up the wrong term earlier. But the truth of the matter is, there's still $10,000 out there that the commissioners thought they were gonna spend before, that isn't showing up anywhere as a line item, that's not in our budget anywhere. And this committee is trying not to hurt outside agencies by taking away money from them. We're trying not to take money from a compensation, as Representative Ticehurst and I have voiced our objections to. There's $10,000 out there that they should be able to identify where it is. And that's horrible.
Thank you. Representative Schmidt?
In the spirit of compromise, let me offer this for consideration, and then I may take a motion. That we would reduce the part-time salary from $7,000 to $3,500 with the stipulation that the part-time person will not start her position before October 1st. So that gives all of October, November, and December to do, and they probably couldn't hire before then anyway. The remainder, $3,000, I would charge the commissioners to take it out of travel and related expense across the board. Including, you could easily take $1,000 out of the delegation travel expenses, because we never spend it anyway, and go on.
We have overspent.
No, well, we haven't spent it, not what I just looked at. On the travel.
We have overspent.
Well, then take it out of the commission. But between the two, we could have the money, and all we're doing is we're delaying the part-time position. And I agree, it's kind of counterproductive if that position was gonna track down on collectible debt. So all we're doing is we're kicking it back 3 months.
It
No.
wasn't intended for that purpose.
And we
That was
can't, we cannot expend it for that purpose, because it is
An
not,
enterprise fund.
that's not in the enterprise fund, it's in the general fund. And so it needs to be,
Then I will withdraw my compromise language.
okay. Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would recommend that we move it out of line 099 on page 2, which is a surplus contingency, which has a $100,000 balance.
Well, you know, we put that in because our rainy day fund was minus
Right.
over
Well,
$1 million, so.
we need it, 6,000, what's that gonna hurt?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor to remove $7,000 from Human Resources, part-time salary. And we have a second on that. Could I see a show of hands? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. The motion carries. Okay. You have 6,000 more dollars.
7.
Seven. Spend it wisely. Okay, now, after we have just gone through that disaster, the next item is how do we want to handle future requests for changes in appropriations? Okay?
Better than today?
Differently than today, okay? And the, what I would like to propose is that you allow the 3 officers, the clerk, the vice chair, and the chair, to make that decision without calling in all of the delegation. And we will report it back to you once that decision is made. And oh, by the way, we will let you know that they're asking for money, and we would ask for your input. Okay? Representative Ticehurst.
I guess that was my question too. How can that be? I thought the delegation has to approve it, and so it's not a subcommittee of the delegation, it is the delegation.
Well,
No, it's not the delegation, it's the executive committee.
And we are the executive committee.
Well, but that could be a sub-executive committee, same thing.
No, it's
The
not.
Supreme Executive Committee.
Don't make things worse.
You're on tape, you're on video.
Council
of Ministers.
I'm gonna trust Representative McCarthy.
okay, so,
Remember, we're on TV.
in every delegation, except for Carroll and Coas, and I guess Grafton, they all have an executive committee. Okay, and because we're so small, we have chosen not to have an executive committee. In most of the other counties, the executive committees make all the decisions, and I know you don't want that to happen. They make all the decisions, and the only thing that the delegation actually does is once a year go and vote on the budget. Period. That's the sum total of the number of county meetings that they attend. And sometimes I get envious, but anyhow. So my proposal was simply to not have to call all 15 of us in, but rather to let what you know, the three officers do that, so. Representative McCarthy?
Yes, Madam Chair, with all due respect, you're right in what you said, except that at the first meeting of the year of the delegation, we did vote to have all members of the delegation as the executive committee, which we have done in the past as well. So, you know, actually, we are all members of the executive committee. However, that can be changed. The reason we used to do that is because we were so small, and we never really had a need for a smaller executive committee. We do now. And I agree that the three individuals, or by law, they should be voted on by law, as they would be in the original first meeting. And also, the law states that you need a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk of the executive committee, and they are not necessarily the same officers of the delegation.
Would you like to make a motion, Frank, or are you just?
No, I would just,
Okay, thank you. Glenn?
Thank you,
Representative
Madam
Cordell?
Chair. I would like to move that the delegation hereby establishes an executive committee comprised of the chair, vice chair, and clerk of the delegation, be formed for the purpose of approving appropriation transfers based on a written request by the commissioners.
Second.
After consultation with the rest of the delegation.
Second.
Yes, Representative.
Not knowing the RSA, I don't, and I know about the 91A issues, does the RSA cover the executive committee emailing, because that's how she probably would, or they would correspond with us, emailing and asking us how we feel about the transfer of funds from one to the other, not being a public meeting, is that legal? That, I just want some clarification of that. Can we do that, and can we answer, because is that not like a vote?
Well, it's not a vote. All we're asking for is recommendations.
So we can do that legally?
If I asked for a vote,
That's a whole different thing.
yeah, that's a whole different thing. If I had said, what I'm doing is I'm providing information to you, okay, which I would send out and say, this is what the commissioners are looking for. Yeah, and where they're gonna take it from. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Okay, so we send back our thoughts. No, I don't like that idea, or I'd rather you take it from such and such. And then you as an executive committee would look at all of those comments and then come up with a decision? I mean, I'm just wondering.
Yes, no, I understand that perfectly. Okay. Representative Comeau has not spoken today, so we will allow him to speak.
I just wanted to speak to the representative's concern that you should refrain from deliberating an email. And that can be difficult to control sometimes because you'll start to want to go back and forth. And that is subject to 91A.
That's correct.
Which is trying to control that. And that would be up to, I would believe, the chair to control a deliberative over email.
Right. The other thing is that it is perfectly appropriate if you are discussing something over email, I mean, you know, deliberating, if that's the right term, as long as you don't make a decision, that you can in fact bring those emails and file them with the minutes, okay, of whatever. Representative McCarthy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, if you look at the RSAs use the term executive committee time after time after time after time. And nowhere in there does it ever say that the executive committee has to get the permission of the rest of the delegation. The executive committee has the authority to make decisions.
And I agree with that, but I just feel that it's, you know, from my perspective, I like to have feedback, you know, and I
But
don't.
I don't think it's necessary to ask,
No,
you know, but after you make the decision, say, look, they wanted this, and we took it out of here and moved it into here, that's it.
Yeah, I understand that, but I would like some feedback initially. Representative Parker.
Well, I can't argue with your logic, but I'm about to.
Okay, that's fine, whatever.
And I'm uncomfortable with, I understand the need for an executive committee, trust me, I do, but the way the county is right now, I get very uncomfortable without all of us here to talk about what's going on. I know it's a burden, I know the hall's all 15 together. I actually prefer the whole county as an executive committee, just for due diligence and our responsibilities, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Representative Cordelli.
Just, thank you, and just, in my motion, I think it's formed for a very specific purpose. In this case, it's not a general authorization for the executive committee. And number 2, earlier in the year, Madam Chair, we had an appropriations subcommittee that was formed to look at appropriations policies, and I think you had provided us with an initial draft, and we had done some work on that. And may I suggest that the appropriations subcommittee get back together and maybe include whatever the decision here is today in a new draft of the appropriations policy?
Okay. That would be Representative Wright.
Correct.
And yourself, and who else?
Representative McCarthy.
And Representative McCarthy.
And Representative Heisers, I think, was on
Yeah.
that too.
No, it was Representative Ticehurst.
Appropriations subcommittee?
Yeah, you,
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so if you would do that, okay. Well, let's see what the vote is.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor, well, first of all, we better have you read the motion.
Did you have it on your computer? Were you reading from it? Or
No,
were you
I
just-
wasn't reading from it. It was-
Oh, lovely, because I don't have
I
it
can-
exactly.
Well,
Just-
give us
I
what
had-
you
I
have.
have,
I'll fill in.
let the chairman, vice chairman, clerk serve as the executive committee for the purpose of approving appropriation transfers based on a written request from the commissioners in consultation with the rest of the delegation.
Okay, maybe we could change the word consultation,
Mhm.
because that's,
Input.
yeah, or, you know. Hmm?
Based on a written request from the commissioners and notification to the rest of the delegation.
That would be fine.
That would be good.
Is it, does the seconder have any problem with that change?
No.
Okay.
Seconder.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? 3. Okay, so be it. All right, just a moment. Yes, go ahead.
I know it's summertime, but in the wintertime, if a boiler should go down, what do?
Call me.
Can we get your approval right away to replace the boiler if it's in the nursing home?
I'm here to tell you that if the nursing home boiler goes down, I'm gonna kill somebody. But it's a brand
I
new
mean,
boiler.
it's a possibility, and we need
We
to
will,
change it.
we will take care of that as immediately. You have my cell number, and I have those 2 guys' cell numbers, so don't worry about it. Yes,
I
Representative.
I believe either on this pile of RSAs or that pile, there is something that addresses emergencies.
Probably,
That they're allowed to take action.
yeah. Okay, okay. I was going to do appointment of the treasurer, but I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna skip over that. However, Kathy asked me to let the delegation know that since Mr. Albee is actually doing the treasurer's work, I guess it's not, she wanted to know if she could pay the treasurer, Chip Albee, the treasurer's salary because he is in fact doing the treasurer's work.
How much time do we have for this one?
I think so. I think she already cut the check.
The hours that for the hours that Chip has put in.
You know, we have, the treasurer, I think, earns,
55 or something like that.
no, it's a little bit more than that.
It's about $6,000.
Its salary is,
5,557
Yeah.
We agree on that
It's
one?
around 5,000.
Madam Chair, can we solve that problem by moving the appropriation from one line to another?
no,
No, we can't? Why not?
because we have appointed him treasurer until such time as we decide on a new one. I got, you know, he's the deputy treasurer, and he is doing the job of the treasurer. Okay, and the deputy treasurer gets paid $250 a year, and the treasurer, because he has so much to do, so much other to do, that he gets a little bit more than the $100 like we do. So, all that Kathy was asking was that he should be paid for the work that he's doing.
I'm trying to help that happen. So, is the objection, is the obstacle because we only appropriate, we voted on a salary for a deputy? Okay, can we make a new vote? Can we change that, or are we only allowed to change that at that one meeting?
I would like to not do that, because I definitely, at our next meeting, want to appoint whomever we decide to appoint. And so I would just like to give Kathy the authorization to pay the deputy treasurer the treasurer's salary until a new treasurer is appointed. And then if it's that person, great. If it's not, then it goes back to being the deputy. Mark, yes, Representative McConkey, I don't want to...
Not a struggle,
Okay.
Madam Chairman. So I'm assuming that we're gonna prorate that by the month.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $460, and I would support that motion for the months that he's carrying on that duty.
I would second that.
All right. All right, all those in favor?
Do we make it?
Yeah. Opposed? Okay, 2. Motion passes. All right.
If I could, Madam Chair.
Yes, you may.
It was brought to my attention that the commissioners need to appoint an assistant treasurer by June 1st.
I think, Representative Butler, the law reads that the treasurer makes a recommendation to the commissioners. It's the treasurer that does the nominating or whatever.
I believe you, but is it not the case that on June 1st,
Okay,
the
if you
assistant
want,
treasurer goes out of, is no longer the assistant treasurer?
if you want, I think that because we are in an appointment stage right now, you know, because our other treasurer left, we're just gonna have to, I just didn't want to spend 6 hours fighting over who the treasurer was
I hear you,
today.
yeah.
And that I would much rather, you know, have a fresh discussion on it. Okay. So,
Yes, commissioners to advertise for a treasurer.
the advertising budget is over, so I don't,
I'm just saying a listing on the webpage is all mentioned.
they can put a listing on the webpage if they want. So you can say that. But whenever our next meeting is, we're gonna decide on the treasurer. So, would you like to make a comment?
I would love to speak to my commissioners if I could. I suggest that in light of recent developments that we place on the Carroll County website where you have employment opportunities, or under the treasurer's page, that if someone's interested in the position, to contact.
No,
and-
to send a resume.
To send a resume.
And to explain why and how they plan to take care of the position, or, fulfill the position. Okay, could I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes? Frank, hang on. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes of May 13th, please? Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, Frank, Representative Preston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if it's in order or not, or what's legal and what's illegal, but
We gotta go.
I would like to see either the commissioners or perhaps the delegation talk to the county attorney and get something from him, an agreement, that if the commissioners go to the attorney and ask him to support or to defend a county individual who's being sued, if they cannot do it or don't want to do it, they put that stipulation in writing.
Okay. Could I have a motion to go into convention, please?
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to go into convention. I believe we have 3 or 4 motions to approve. Okay, the first motion is on the minutes. All those in, okay, could I have a motion on the minutes, Mark?
Move to accept the minutes as distributed.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. We have a motion on, to remove $7,000 from the human resources, part-time.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to,
Excuse me, I oppose that, I'd like that recorded.
okay,
Me too.
to oppose? You got that, Melissa?
I did.
Okay. And we have a motion to allow the chairman, vice chairman, and clerk to approve further,
The motion that was approved.
further
Appropriation transfers.
appropriation transfers.
Transfers.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1, 2.
Representative Parker, and who else is?
And Tyson.
Tyson.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay. Was there anything else? You gotta keep track of this for me, somebody.
I know, I have a list, I'm looking, I don't see anything else.
Okay. Can I have a motion to come out of convention?
We need the motion on paying the treasurer.
Oh, yes, okay,
Treasurer on a
Okay.
monthly basis.
yes. I have a motion, with a motion on approving, to pay the treasurer, or the deputy treasurer, the treasurer's salary on a month-to-month basis until we appoint a new one.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I'm opposed.
Pardon?
I am opposed.
Okay, 1,
Schmidt and Tysers.
Smith and Tysers. Okay. Anything else?
Move to come out of convention.
All right,
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Public input.
Yes, is there any public input? Yes, Mr. Brown.
We've gone from county checks being stored on the floor underneath a desk to a performance audit of 0 financial controls in Carroll County, to the DRA now looking into deficits of millions of dollars. Number one, where the delegation obligation to oversee the budget of the county, would it be prudent for the delegation to have a subcommittee to help write financial controls for the county? Who is responsible for writing the financial controls of the county? And where today do we stand with financial controls of Carroll County?
I will answer that as best I can, but that is a responsibility of the commissioners. The delegation's responsibility is to develop and approve the budget, and it is the responsibility of the commissioners and the staff to manage the budget. And part of the management of the budget are those financial controls. Additionally, one of the things that we agreed to in the budget was the hiring of a county administrator, which the delegation and the commissioners believe will be helpful in the prudent management of the affairs of the county. And that activity is occurring, and hopefully, I know it's moving forward, and we'll hopefully get that done in relatively quickly. But we want the right person, obviously, so that's what's happening, Mr. Brown, but it is the responsibility of the commissioners to take care of the financial situation of the county.
May I just call, would it be prudent, could the delegation assist in that measure and trying to, maybe having a subcommittee and maybe trying to help write some financial controls? I mean, we're looking at nearly a $30 million budget of taxpayer money, and after watching today's festivities, it's clear that nobody knows how much money is in the bank account on a $30 million budget. This is a total disgrace, and this is our money, taxpayer money, that nobody understands where it is. I mean, this is a total disgrace, and I'm sorry, but I mean, this needs to stop. This really, the way that, how we've always done it in Carroll County needs to end today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I would, no, we're in public comments.
Okay.
Okay, and that does not include people sitting around the table. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no, there are 2 items of business, so I object.
What?
May I bring up one item? Trust me, it's a good item.
Okay.
And it will only take a second. So, we have amazing things happening at the House of Corrections.
You're right.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh, I forgot all about that.
I'm so happy that she indulged me with this.
Yes, thank you.
We did. We have amazing things happening at the House of Corrections, and we really need to, we don't need to, it's a joy to give acknowledgement of that. And the House of Corrections did have an award ceremony recently. And I have a list here in tiny, tiny print of all the community organizations that donated prizes and gifts to our House of Corrections in appreciation of a job very well done. I had the opportunity to have some wonderful conversations with officers there who have innovative ideas, who are working hard, going way beyond the requirements of the job, who are just showing a lot of initiative and a lot of compassion and caring. And I'd like to take just a really quick minute to acknowledge that Officer of the Year, Jonathan Ciampa. And there's a testimonial about that, which we can share. Rookie of the Year, Nicholas Wrigley. And Supervisor of the Year, Corporal Daisy Tiexera, if I said it right. And Employee of the Year, Lori Biagio. And we just really owe them appreciation for going above and beyond. And I'm really pleased with the changes that I'm seeing going forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Representative Ticehurst. I told you that I would put that on my agenda, and I didn't. And so thank you very much. And I believe that all of us are very proud of the work that is going on in the House of Corrections. Yes, Representative McCarthy?
No, Mr. Brown is gone. I was gonna just tell him if he wants to know where the controls are, to look at the RSA's Title II, Chapter
Okay.
22 to 30.
Representative Avellini?
I just had a couple of questions from our last nursing home subcommittee that I'd like to touch on, if that's okay.
Sure, I'm ready, I'm here. Some people had to leave, and that was why I wanted to get everything done that we needed to. So, yes, the nursing home subcommittee was indeed on the agenda, but I thought we were getting a little,
It's okay.
Taste of Valley, where's that
I'll
tonight?
be
Where's
quick.
that, you know?
yeah.
I raised a few.
That's it.
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, can you?
No,
Pardon?
go ahead, please.
I raised a few questions about missing revenues from the cafe meals for October, November, and December of 2014, and the credit card deposits for the relating months from September, October, November, and December, and into 2015. I'd like to ask or find out what is being done about it, because it's been 10 days and we've heard nothing.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Prior to, in between our two meetings today, we met with Kathy Armstrong, who I understand is the person that is accounting for the receivables for the nursing home in the business office. And she had spoken with Paula from the, and I apologize for not saying Paula's last name, from the nursing home, and Paula had raised concerns that we had from that meeting, specifically those items. And Kathy has, on 2014, she's turned her numbers over to the auditor at this point in time. She was going to look to make sure that she had correctly included all of those months that we had shown omissions. And she was going to speak to the auditor on how that should be accounted for. On 2015 on the cafe, again, she was going to look into that and she could respond within a very short period of time to us about that. And she was also going to provide the committee with a bank statement from the credit card company, the bank with a credit card company, that would show what the deposits were for at least 1 month, and she's going to back that up with other documentation. But then it would allow us also to see what our rate that we're paying to service credit cards and debit cards would be. And she thought in the short term, looking at, she was under the impression that 2015 was showing up as basically cash credit cards and then minusing out expenses. We told her that wasn't what we were seeing. And she thought that maybe she was taking the expense for the month's previous income was showing up the expense, so it wasn't true. So she was, if we were taking in credit cards in June, she thought she might have been reporting in July what June's transaction cost was. She was going to double check that, get back to us.
Okay. And one more?
Sure.
Certainly.
On the income for meals from the jail, there was around a $5,000 difference between what the jail was charged and what went over to the nursing home. Did we get clarification on where that went?
Did not get any clarification.
Would the commissioners know where that went?
No, but what was that again, the difference between what was charged the jail?
Yep, and what was,
It was $9,300, wasn't it, Representative, at one place and 98 at the other?
50, yes, 193 and then 198. Yep. So it was around $5,000. And then my last question was the supplemental budget for $64,000. I was just a little fuzzy on that.
We had received, and Chairman can correct me on that, there was a supplemental budget approved by the delegation in 2014. And in August, they saw the documentation, and it was for, that $64,000 accounted for pay raises that needed to be raised for that year. And it had gone through as an approved item by the delegation. That's my understanding.
In the minutes were there, it was 64,280.
Supplemental budget. And was it for, specifically for the nursing home, or was it?
Yes, it was, only for the nursing home.
Yeah. Why would it be invoiced if it was gonna stay in the nursing home? If it was invoiced out and then put back in somewhere? There seems that there's a deduction and then there's no addition anywhere else putting it back in.
I don't have an answer for that. You're saying it should have washed, Representative? 64,000 in, 64,000 out?
Correct, somewhere.
I guess we can ask the question.
Yeah, it should have gone out in salaries.
When they come in as a transfer and go out of salary.
I would think.
Representative Cordelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of attending the nursing home subcommittee meeting as a guest observer, and a subject that came up was the functionality of our financial system and ability to interface with the nursing home system. System functionality has come up previously as far back as January with our appropriations subcommittee. It was suggested back then that the IT committee and our representatives of the IT committee have the system vendor come in to talk about system functionality, as there are many questions as to interfacing and ability to highlight when appropriations are going over or in danger of going over. It would be my hope that we could, since this has come up multiple occasions over the past 6 months, 5 months, that we could maybe get, and maybe the commissioners can aid in getting the IT committee to invite this system vendor in, and we can have a broad-based discussion about system functionality.
Of the nursing home or of both?
Of our county financial system.
System or systems?
The one basic system, I think it's ACS.
Okay.
ACS.
Okay. Can you do that?
We can try.
We
I
tried.
wrote it down.
There was, if I could, to finish up on the discussion on the nursing home, there's still a continuing issue in that the subcommittee is spending an enormous amount of time piling over documentation, trying to get a fair understanding of why one document says one and another document says the other. And the committee, on a unanimous vote, had asked, direct the nursing home administrator to report back over a period of 60 days what the cost would be to internalize all transactions inside the nursing home, being and not having to send their papers over for further computation over to the business office. And secondly, that they would ask then, because our understanding is that Cronus would interface with outside payroll agencies, if they could put together a estimate with the vendor for what that service would cost. And we had made that recommendation, it was unanimous, and my understanding is that the commissioners have decided not to go with that recommendation.
Well, they can discuss it at your next subcommittee meeting, which is scheduled for June
15th.
15th.
June 15th.
Huh?
July.
June and the release.
We'll have to get back to you on that.
Representative Cordelli?
maybe for consideration by the subcommittee, I would think it would be entirely possible, with relative ease, to do an RFQ for request for quotations for payroll services from somebody that, maybe that would be a recommendation that the subcommittee would like to move forward with to the commissioners.
Good point.
What we really need is something out there to replace Genesis, but. All right, now could I have a motion for adjournment?
Made.
Okay, thank you, McCarthy and Parker, Representative McCarthy. Thank you. We'll stand adjourned.
Is anyone in touch with anyone from Carroll Dickinson's family?
What do you need?
Recording?